retina, which focuses the light and responsible for perception of light. The eye has a very important factors which is known as binocular vision. The binocular vision is the ability of eye to focus on an object and forming a single image. Thank you.
I am going to tell you about the parts of the human eye. The human eyeball is made up of 3 layers. The upper layer is the sclera, which is protect the human eye, and it is the tough and white layer. The middle layer is the choroid. This is choroid. It is the middle layer which lies between the sclera and retina. The innermost layer is the retina, which contains the nerve cell. And this is the blue color which we color. This is the retinal. This is the retinal vein, and red colors is the retinal artery. So this is the cornea. It is the anterior continuation of the sclera, and after this, this is the pupil in middle, through which light enters into the eye, and these all are the iris. These all are the iris, which is muscular tissue, and the color of the eyes is depend on the iris color. After that, this is the ciliary muscles and ciliary body, which is the anterior continuation of the choroid, and it consists of ciliary muscles and epithelial cells which secrete the aqueous humor. And after that, this is the lens, which is the white part of the eye. It is the fibrous tissue, proteinaceous tissue, and it is suspended through the suspensory ligament and the ciliary body. The eye is divided into 2 parts, the anterior part and the posterior part, through the lens, ciliary body and suspensory ligament. The anterior body is filled with the aqueous humor, and the posterior body is filled with the vitreous humor. And after that, the center of the retina, a small spot is found, that is the macula lutea, and the little depression found in the macula lutea is known as the fovea centrale. And there is the optic nerve which goes into the mind. That's all.
Myself, Abhishek Kumar, deliver the function of human eye are a specialized sense organ that is capable of receiving visual image, thereby producing the sense of sight in viewers. The eye receives direct oxygen through the aqueous humor. The aqueous humor nourishes the cornea, lens, and iris by carrying nutrients, removing waste materials exerted by a lens, and maintaining the shape of eye. The aqueous humor responsible for providing to shape of eye. It must be clear to function properly. Thank you.
Myself Archita, and now I am going to tell you about the function of parts of eye. So this convex portion is the cornea. It is responsible for bending of the light, and it is responsible for reflecting the eye to focus on the retina. Now this is the sclera. It provides shape to the eye, and also it protects from the external threats. It has muscle conjunctiva that is responsible for the movement of eyeball up and down. Now this is the choroid layer, and this is when the light enters into the eye through the pupil, and it stimulates the sensory receptors on the retina and then get absorbed by the choroid. Now the anterior portion is the aqueous humor. It provides the shape to the cornea. Then this is the iris. These are the iris muscles. It regulates the shape of the pupil for reflecting the light to focus on the retina. Then these are the ciliary, this is the ciliary body. Let me show you. This is the ciliary body and it is responsible for the formation of aqueous humor. Then there is the ciliary muscles which regulate the size of the lens. When the lens is shrink, then which is responsible to see the far object, and when it comes to its own size and gets thick, it is responsible to see the near object. Then there is conjunctiva. Muscles which is responsible for production of tears and mucus. Then there is optic nerve which is responsible to carry the nerve impulses from eye to the brain. Thank you.
Good morning one and all present here. Myself Ayush and I will be explaining the working of eye. So when an incident light from an object falls on cornea, it bends the light and through the aqueous humor it passes and reaches the pupil, and through pupil it penetrates the pupil and reaches the lens. The lens focuses even more that incident light and its focuses is on the retina, and virtual image is formed. Then retina is a nerve sensitive layer which contain rods and cones. These cells convert this light signal into nerve impulse. So here is the transmission of light from the source to the retina. Now I will be explaining you the transmission of nerve impulse from the retina to the brain. So here the anatomically eye is divided into two parts. That is nasal part, that is proximal to nasal bone, and the temporal part, that is proximal to temporal bone. So an optic nerve arises from an optic disc. It contains both the nasal part and the temporal part. Here the nasal fibers crosses at the level of pituitary, that is front and above of pituitary gland. Here it forms optic chiasma. So optic chiasma is basically the crossing over of optic fibers, which result in the transmission of impulses to both the cerebral hemispheres. Now this optic fibers continues as optic tract. Now this optic fibers Now this optic fiber continues as optic tract. This optic tract synapses with lateral geniculate bodies at the level of thalamus, and it continues further as optic radiations. These optics radiation reaches the brain, that is vision area number 17, that is Brodmann area number 17. So here it is perceived and an erect image is formed at the brain. So that's all the working of the eye. Thank you.
Good morning everyone, this is Ankita and I am going to explain some about accommodation of eye. So the eye needs to make adjustment for the object to see clearly. So for near objects, the eye must make certain adjustment, that is constriction of pupil, convergence, and the changing in the refractive power of the lens. So when pupil is constricted, pupil assists the amount of light and the width of beam of light entering into the eye. And for convergence, that is movement of eyeball, certain muscles are required. These muscles are of two types, that are extrinsic or extraocular muscles and intrinsic muscles, that are interocular muscles. Extrinsic muscles are of 6 types, that are superior rectus muscles that help the eyeball to move in upward direction, and inferior rectus muscles that help in the movement of eyeball in downward direction. The third one is medial rectors that help in movement of eyeball in upward direction, and there is lateral rectus muscle that help in the movement of eyeball down, in outward direction. The fifth one is the superior oblique muscle that help in the eyeball movement in downward and outward direction, and so inferior oblique muscles that help in movement of eyeball in upward and outward direction. And the next one is intrinsic muscles or intraocular muscles that are of three types: dilator pupilla, constrictor pupilla, and ciliary muscles. Now let's move on to the changing of refractive power of lens. So this governs what amount of light entering, and it depends on the object which are it depends on the distance of object which we are seeing. So for the near objects, the lens become thicker and it is at thinnest for the distant objects. So the ciliary muscles work very much for constriction, and it tires majorly for the near object, and it relaxes for the vision for distant objects. So this was the accommodation of eye, which help in clear vision of image formation. Thank you.
I am lesson planning. I been through now. I 15 million. I 15 million. I is composed of more than 2 million years. I am the human eye. The human eye and derived of 10 to million different color. The people who composed blind can see their dreams of them color beyond color. Thank you.
Thank you.
तुझे फोटो खींचना है। ए, एक सेकंड रुकिए।